Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
1, 2.
There's a reason his initials are BS. It's the Bob Sullivan Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
But as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. Better now than never. Business.
Thank you for joining me for another edition of the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. If you'd like to call in, the call-in number is 585-633-7487. We're going to be joined here in a little bit, possibly by Mike Falcone, comedian. He actually is caught in traffic right now. He said there's an accident in traffic, so he might not be able to make it.
I'm sorry. He's from North Jersey. He's going to be a while.
Yeah, he's going to be a while, so we might just wait on Mike Falcone until next Sunday. But we'll go for an hour here talking some college basketball here with Keith Grieve, producer of the Bob Sullivan Show here on Late Night Sports Radio. Keith, how are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. How was your weekend?
It was good, mainly because I was not gambling and I was not focused on my bracket, so things worked out for me. I did not fill out a bracket this year, and it worked out in my favor. I don't have to stress all over these upsets. How about yours?
Well, you've become remarkably anti-bracket.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one. It's too much work to unless you fill out just one bracket. It's too much work.
Right. Well, like I said, we were talking before we went on the air. I just like proving to myself every year how little I know about college basketball. But
yeah, it's. I don't even think it's about how I think we learn less and less every year from the tournament because there's really no. Everybody's like, oh, always pick a 12 over a 5. There's going to be an 11 over a 6. There's really no science to it. Everybody thinks they have their own formula. There's really no formula for it. And I don't, I get, an occasional upset is nice here and there. But again, like I said last week, if Kentucky Duke isn't the national championship, I kind of find it to be a disappointment. Or if we don't see Kentucky versus Arizona.
See, I don't mind if some Cinderella team gets on a run. Well, what I don't like is when I don't know. What was your take in that SMU UCLA game? Was that a goaltend at the end?
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say yes by the rule, but I didn't see that ball was not. I don't think that ball was going in.
Yeah, I don't think there was a chance in hell.
And I wish the NBA would go to this. I wish college basketball would go to this. I wish they would go to the FIBA rule with, as soon as the ball hits the rim, it's free game. Yeah, I mean, you can, if it bounces up or anything, you can swat it out. I don't like the rule of it's untouchable once it hits the rim. I think that's kind of a stupid rule in my opinion. And it kind of, it eliminates, it kind of affects big guys. Not that there's big guys anymore, but it kind of affects the way defensive. It would make defense a lot more interesting if they were able to do things like that.
Right. I feel bad. That kid, I've already forgotten his name, but just breaking down in tears at that press conference afterwards because he knows knows that his mistake cost them, the game pretty much. It's unfortunate.
What was more depressing, that press conference or Chris Webber's after he called the timeout?
Webber was just angry. And, if you watch the Fab 5 30 for 30 there, which is fantastic, by the way, folks, if you haven't watched that. But I get the feeling that, he wanted to just call somebody out for whoever yelled at him to call the timeout, but he just sat there and took it, Yeah,
and I'm surprised that, I know that he didn't want to go out. A lot, if he doesn't go out there for the press conference, it probably makes it even worse. But,
yeah, I agree.
It really makes these. I really hate the media when being able to ask these kids questions. It's like, what were you thinking when you called the timeout? And it's like, well, obviously he wasn't really thinking. made a mistake. The "what were you thinking" type of questions are the worst questions in press conferences, especially to college kids.
Yeah, I was like, I think it was it 93 or 94 that game? Do you remember off the top of your head? It's not important.
I think it was 93.
Yeah, I was a high school junior, and I just remember, being so ignorant in the world and just be like, "Oh, Chris Webber's such an idiot. How could he not know?" Blah blah blah. And then you live a little, you learn a little, and then you watch that 30 for 30 that puts it kind of all in perspective, and your adrenaline is just flying high, rushing a mile a minute, and you hear somebody yell, call timeout. You don't think. You just do it.
Well, and not to mention he traveled on that at the beginning of that play.
Yeah.
And, he made 2 blunders in that play. He didn't get caught on one. He got caught on the other, though.
Yeah.
Either way, he was going to be a GOAT on that play, in that sequence of events.
Yeah, it was just sad that was the last. That's our last image of the Fab Five.
Well, it's funny with like the '90s. I mean, all the 30 for 30 on Leitner, that was great. The Fab Five, and then early '90s with the running Rebels. I mean, golden age of college basketball right there. Kentucky, is head and shoulders above everybody right now. But it's not like they're hate. Like, I don't hate them. Actually, I kind of enjoy it. I think people more so hate Calipari. And, there's not teams out there that you just hate, because there's not, with the one and done now, there's not the years of building up hatred for one player or 2 players or an entire team. I really miss that about college basketball. Not so much that, the one and done, just that you can't build up hate for a team over time.
Yeah, it's all interrelated, and it being, here in Western New York, being a Syracuse fan. Hold on. Excuse me. Being a Syracuse fan in Western New York and their decision to leave the Big East. I mean, before the big defections happened, I still say the Big East was the best basketball conference in America, hands down, better than the ACC. Better than anything else going on in the nation. And now that they've kind of they're in that big giant ACC conference, it's not the same. And then you throw into it the one and done situation where you can't develop. Well, if you're a fan, you can't develop an attachment to a squad, because usually you get like a 2 or 3 year kind of like. This was if Melo had stayed, it would have been his team for like 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? It's in flashes, and you're constantly having to recruit freshman classes that are just top notch. Otherwise, your program just takes that much longer to develop, and you get stuck in neutral a lot as a fan. It hurts the game. They need to do something.
Well, how would you recruit if you were at Kentucky kind of has the formula down. I mean, just assume nobody's coming back.
They go into a living room and say, hey, it's Kentucky. You want to come?
Yeah, you want to come here. You're going to play in the NBA in, less than 8 months once you're here. But if you're not Kentucky, if you're not Duke, if you're not North Carolina, Kansas, I mean, how do you recruit a guy that's considering Kentucky or a guy that's considering Duke? How do you recruit against that? I can't figure out how a school is able to recruit against that. Like, it just boggles my mind if, getting these 5-star recruits, these All-Americans, if you're not a blue blood.
Yeah. I mean, there is kind of maybe an angle that would work towards recruiting the maybe not superstar players, but the middle of the road or better that won't be one and done, because maybe they'll get to play a lot more that much sooner, I guess. And I'm really stretching with that one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see. Well, and speaking of blue bloods, who do you think? Like, I guess Syracuse and UConn, they've been considered blue bloods, but I think UConn, even though they won the national title last year, I think they're after Jim Calhoun, it's going to be a little bit of a. I don't think that it's going to be as easy for them, especially being in that American Conference. That's not going to be easy to recruit there. And Syracuse, once Boeheim leaves, I think they're going to struggle quite a bit too.
Well, that depends.
Do you see any other programs stepping up and being a blue blood at any point? Maybe a Villanova if they can figure it out in the tournament.
What do you mean by blue blood? When you use that term blue blood, you mean like a dyed-in-the-wool, like established college basketball franchise?
Yeah, like like the cream of the crop college basketball program.
You look at what Mike
in the Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, UCLA to a certain extent.
Like winning
where basketball is everything.
You mean like winning championships or just contending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, contending year in, year out, Final Four program.
I think Louisville is very close to getting there. You know what I mean? Pitino could leave at the drop of a hat. Who knows? Or retire. Who knows? That's just total speculation on my part. But I was just looking around the bracket just for ideas. We don't really talk a lot about the team, but what Mike Bray's done at Notre Dame, I mean, they're always in the conversation. No one thinks they're going to win the championship, but they're in the conversation of the really good teams. You got again just scrabbling here. Gonzaga's always good. They're not great. I don't know if they're that upper echelon.
I think they're kind of like. I think Arizona might be. Arizona's close. They have to make a serious run with Sean Miller, but I think they're close to being on the, Duke, Carolina, Kentucky level.
Yeah, I mean they're funny because there was a stretch in the '90s where they, were as good as anybody under Lute Olson. Mm-hmm. They won a couple of championships and then they went in the whole downward spell for whatever reason. But
it was mainly Lute Olson having some recruiting violations and Kevin O'Neill bailing on the squad. That contributed to it. Right. And then, I like with the NCAA tournament, yeah, we get the occasional upset. But, the one thing I do, if you don't have, Kentucky, Duke in the national championship, do you think it is a complete disappointment this year?
Only to the casual fan. I mean, there's nothing. The year that VCU made it to the Final Four, did the game really suffer because a team like VCU made it that far? I don't think so. Those basketball games were fantastic.
No, I don't think it suffered, but I don't think. Well, like the year George Mason beat UConn, I would have liked to seen that UConn team with Rudy Gay and Josh Boone, Marcus Williams versus that Florida team with, Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Green, and Corey Brewer. I felt like there's years where you miss out on certain matchups because of these, Cinderella stories.
Yeah, I see your point there.
And, it's nice to have an occasional Cinderella story, but I don't want it to ruin the Final Four from seeing two top flight programs with, real NBA talent on them. Not one guy that might get drafted in the second round and four guys that won't play any professional basketball. I'm not a big fan of that.
Like Steph Curry and Davidson?
Like Steph Curry with Davidson, like, VCU, for example. They didn't really knock out anybody, but, I guess Wichita State had Clee Anthony early, and who knows what happened with Van Fleet and Takeo Cotton, and Ron Baker. But yeah, I'm not a fan of seeing the older I've gotten, the more I want to see the best players playing at the end than the best team.
And on a side note, I always confine myself supporting a team with the nickname Shockers.
Oh yeah, they don't have the classiest fans, but they do have or the classiest coach, but they do have a great program there.
Yeah, what is the word in the Midwest on Wichita State?
As far as
just basically what you just said, they don't have the classiest fans. Like, are there any stories that don't make it out east?
They're just difficult. That they're kind of they have a chip on their shoulder mainly because they're Kansas won't play them, and they're a little gruff around the edges when they talk. They don't know how to spell everything correctly. on message boards. They're they have their issues, but I mean, I was trying to get a Wichita fan on tonight because he was here in Omaha, but he was going to travel back tonight. But he's a nice guy. The rest of them, you know, I still think they're a little bitter from the BTK serial killer in their city.
Well, that would do it for me. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they're still on their toes from that incident.
How could you not be? I mean,
have you had any serial killings in your neck of the woods?
Oh, Rochester produced the Hillside Strangler. He was originally from Rochester. And then we had Arthur Shawcross, who used to drive bodies up and down my friend's street in a suburb while he was deciding where to dump them.
Where was I know Rifkin, wasn't Rifkin in New York City?
I believe so.
I feel like there was somebody else, like a big name in Western New York.
I think it was the Hillside Strangler.
Did they ever discover who that was?
Yeah, that was Kenneth Bianchi.
Okay. I'm a fan of John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer, and I'm also a fan of Jeffrey Dahmer. Those Netflix documentaries are always fantastic.
Yeah, all the ones on the inside the mafia too, about Jimmy Burke and everything, and they kind of.
I could watch mafia documentaries and Jimmy Hoffa documentaries till I die. There's nothing better in television at all.
Yeah, the one on Whitey Bulger, that was the one I'm thinking of. That's fantastic.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break here on the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. I will be back here with Keith Grieve. If you want to call in, the call-in number is 585-633-7487. And we'll be right back here after a short break.
Baby, you're a mystery. Tell me what's a girl gotta do? Looking at the history doesn't seem to give any clue. Just when I think I understand it all, you seem to unravel some more. Ooh, I never know nobody like you. Now I know I'm an enigma. Yeah, you keep me guessing, I'm confessing now, well, baby, it's true. I never know nobody like you. Baby, you're an enigma. Baby, you're a riddle, I'm caught up in the middle of you. I'm trying to think bigger, but I can't seem to figure it through. I wanna make it better, but now I'm scared of looking a fool. Oh, baby, no, I've never been very good at playing it cool. Just when I think I understand it all, I find I know nothing at all. I never know nobody like you. Now I know.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Bob Sullivan Show here on nightsportsradio.com. The phone number is 525-633-7487. I'm joined right now by producer Keith Grieve of 87 Sports Fans. Keith, is there a commercial so far in the NCAA tournament that you were tired of?
No, you know what? Honestly, because there's all these games going on, as soon as I see a commercial, I flip.
I'm actually tired of the Buick commercial.
With the Wi-Fi?
I know it's been out for a while, but it's been played a lot with where they're saying, oh, Buick's not just for old people anymore. It's for everybody. With the old people talking about the Wi-Fi in the car. Yeah. I prefer an old person to not be driving a Buick and using Wi-Fi at the same time.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody over my age behind the wheel anyway. So the fact that they could possibly be tweeting or sending a text while they're driving just makes me that uneasy.
I know you're probably not. You're probably past the age, and I know other people have, but I am so glad that my grandparents and very limited family members have Twitter or Facebook, especially Twitter with all the crap I say.
Well, yeah, I've seen your timeline. That could make for some awkward, awkward holiday conversations.
But it makes it better because then I'm able to complain about family members without them knowing.
See, that would be a benefit of being able to slide under the radar there. So I saw you put on Facebook that you didn't really like my fruitcake that I brought.
Yeah.
No, you misread it. I said you are a fruitcake. It's very different.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have any. Well, I guess I have. I don't know if I've complained about my cousin or not, but I've complained about cousins on Twitter or Facebook. But the fortunate thing is I only have 5 of them, or 6 of them, maybe 7. So I don't really have to, if they did read it, they would know exactly who I was talking about. It's not like there's, 75 cousins where, it would be difficult to decipher which cousin it was.
Yeah, it's something just came across my screen, and it reminded me that I wanted to ask your opinion because you and I sometimes get on these movie tangents on your show. Have you seen the trailer for Mission Impossible 5?
Yes, I have. I'm excited. I think adding Alec Baldwin to the mix, I'm in.
That franchise, I like the first one. Second and third one I thought sucked hard. And then the fourth one, Ghost Protocol, I liked.
Yeah, I think, Cruise, although, he's currently going to have to battle these accusations that he's having. He's had a 30-year love affair with John Travolta. He's had to battle the accusations of being gay for a while. But I feel, at 52 or whatever he's at, it's incredible that he's still able to do these action movies. And pile on top of that, Schwarzenegger and Sly Stallone, they're in their late 60s, early 70s, still doing these action movies. Could somebody like a Chris Hemsworth or somebody step up and become the next great action hero so that these guys can kind of move on instead of having to keep rolling these guys out until they die on set?
No, because I heard Spielberg wants to reboot Indiana Jones with Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, also Community, I believe he's in.
And I heard Harrison Ford after that plane crash, I don't think he's going to be acting anymore.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that was in the tabloids. I heard that he might call it quits after that, which would be devastating.
Well, yeah, there's 2 more Star Wars movies to make.
Yeah, are they? So is J.J. Abrams just doing the first Star Wars and then passing it off after the next one, after this one?
I don't know. I hope not, because it makes me wonder. I think if you're going to do a trilogy, you should keep the same director. Although, in the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6, it paid to not have George Lucas do any more than episode 4.
I agree. Yeah, because the Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, those were obviously the two best in the series. New Hope was fine, but yeah, those next 2 were spectacular. And then when they brought it back, it was just a huge disappointment. The 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, George Lucas can't direct. I'm sorry, he can't. He just cannot. He's a storyteller, and you look at the performances, the forced dialogue. They're just bad movies. They really are. They only exist in this kind of Star Wars bubble. As far as telling the Star Wars story, that's the only reason why they're passable. It's the only reason why I own them, because I grew up in the 80s. But they're bad movies.
Is there a greater rivalry than Star Trek fans versus Star Wars fans?
Oh, it's two different completely. I think Star Trek's are actually more nerdy than Star Wars fans.
Whoa.
I do.
They don't dress up for movies or anything, though.
It's because
they go to the conventions and dress up there. At least they just stick to the conventions. But when the movies or whatever come out, they don't dress up for those as Klingons or anything.
You have people learning to speak Klingon. That puts you at the top of Nerd Mountain.
Okay, but you got people trying to speak whatever it is that the Wookiee.
No.
Okay, people have Wookiee impressions all over the place. That's trying to talk Wookiee.
Everybody has a Wookiee impression. It doesn't mean they're nerd. It doesn't mean that they're sitting home trying to perfect the Wookiee.
Well, I've heard people try to talk like the Ewoks. That's nerdy.
I like to forget they even existed. I like to forget that the Ewoks and Jar Jar Binks are just figments of my imagination.
Okay, other than when Princess Leia is chained down by Jabba the Hutt, what is the second sexiest thing that Leia's wearing? Second sexiest scene with Leia.
The second sexiest scene?
Yeah.
Trying to think here. I think probably when in episode 4, when Luke storms into her cell and she's just kind of laying there on her side.
Yeah, with the white cloth kind of just covering, kind of like a Greek goddess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's wearing a long dress theoretically, but it's hugging her figure pretty nicely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also liked her when she was with the Ewoks. When they're having the party.
She had that hippie vibe to her.
Yeah, when she's like the queen of the castle. That was awesome as well. Also, other question: Padme or Leia?
Oh, I'm such a big Natalie Portman fan, but I think Leia's dirty. I think I like Leia better.
Yeah, she's dirty, and Carrie Fisher's got some problems upstairs, so you might have a better chance there too.
Perfect. She's perfect.
You wouldn't want to date her because she'd play psychedelic or psychotic games with you.
Yeah, but all psychotic games are entertaining in the beginning.
Yeah, but in the long run, In the long run, you might end up 6 feet under. That's just no good.
You're talking to the guy that had a girlfriend break up with him, smack him, and then go home and try to kill herself with Claritin.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun night. Cinco de Mayo, 2002.
Okay, I guess probably not at this point, but would you break up with a girl over text messaging?
No, my gig was I just stopped calling.
That's all. I think that's the best. I've done the stop talking to them and then block their number, block all communication, so that I don't have to hear about it or anything.
Yeah,
and the worst is when you stop calling them, and then why I block their number and block texting is because then I'll get like, "Are you okay? What did I do wrong? Is it okay? Are you gonna be okay?" It's like, yeah, I'm fine. I just don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, it's like when I decide it's over. If you need to hate me for this to get over quicker, then go ahead.
Yeah, that's as much. Sorry, ladies. We just it's not about feelings. It's about just wanting to get out of it. Right now, all right. So the Sweet 16 is basically set. Louisville's going to win this game. Do you see anybody right now that you think could beat Kentucky?
It would have to be somebody that plays really good defense, but I don't think anyone's competing with Kentucky's size. But if I had to, looking at the teams there, it would have to be either Louisville or West Virginia right now.
Well, and they were talking. Somebody was talking about with Kentucky, like they didn't play well the other night. Still won by like 14, but you look at Kentucky. When they have an off night, you pretty much have to shut down their bench, and who knows what their bench is going to be in. It's just such a I mean, everything has to go perfectly for you, and nobody has enough depth, in my opinion, to beat Kentucky. It's just probably the scariest team because no other team has any depth is pretty much what it's going to come down to.
And I give an outside chance to Arizona.
Yeah, they're probably the second most talented team, but, you know, Jameson, who I have on the show from time to time, was talking, always talks about how they always choke, and I could see that happening again this year.
They shoot the ball well. They can rebound. They don't allow many points. They're not really big on blocks. I'm just looking at the numbers really quick, but they might be a team that could do it with that recipe. But Jameson has a very valid point there.
Do you think Calipari does not get enough credit for how great a coach he is?
I think Calipari has a big stain on his lapel from the rumors of the accusations that have followed him from UMass to Memphis, and now it hasn't really hit. There hasn't been any allegations at Kentucky, but nothing's ever stuck to him. But I think he has that kind of legacy, that cloud around him, where people just assume he's cheating.
Yeah. UMass was a big one, and then the Derrick Rose situation with the ACT and everything. The other thing I wonder about Kentucky is, remember when they put that rule in about APR and graduation rates and GPA and whatnot, NCAA, and then UConn got banned from postseason play. It was like 3 years ago under Calhoun.
Yeah.
How is Kentucky beating it? What's the rule as far as if Kentucky, I know they probably have like 4 guys on, basically team managers that are probably forced to graduate from the team, but how does it work with the other, when you're going one and done? How is that ever going to affect Kentucky?
I think it only applies to the seniors that are still around after 4 years.
Oh. So you don't have to worry about the guys that leave for the NBA or anything?
Yeah, exactly. The guys that aren't going to do their homework anyway. Yeah, you don't have to worry about them. I don't think so. That's the way I interpret it. I could be wrong.
There's another thing that people are going to be bothered by. There's probably going to be a new rule to be put in, once that.
Calipari's got the edge just because he's got the Kentucky brand. He's won recently, and so he can get those 5-star freshman recruits that if they go one and done, well, go to the NBA. I'll just go get another class.
I really admire it that he is able to, year in, year out, be able to convince, he hasn't had, even with, last year I think was his best coaching job. The year with Noel, things might have gone a little differently if Noel doesn't get injured.
Right.
Tears ACL, but, to win 2 national titles, or win the national title, get to another national title, and then the John Wall team, which is probably the best team he's had at Kentucky, to not win. And then this team, I actually think this team is probably his 3rd best team he's had at Kentucky.
Yeah, and they're picked to go undefeated.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And, all right, Larry Brown, does he retire after this with SMU?
I don't think so, but if he was going to retire, he would have done it already. He's at SMU, for Christ's sake.
I still think he has like 3 more coaching jobs in him.
Yeah, he's never satisfied. It wouldn't surprise me if he resigns, because he's Larry Brown. Not that he's got any reason to resign from SMU, but I think if he didn't want to be coaching, he would have been gone already.
Kansas, losing to Wichita State, do you think that they've won 3 national titles in their school history? Yeah, they've won a bunch of Big 8, Big 12 conference tournaments, regular season titles, all that. That's all fine and dandy. But do you think they're overrated as a program?
They've been overrated for years, going back to Roy Williams. How many great teams did they have under Roy Williams and not be able to get it done?
Highway robbery that it was about battle between 2 bad head coaches, but Roy Williams and Jim Boeheim in that national title game. Collison and Heinrich, that team should have won.
Could have, should have, but they didn't.
You got lucky. You guys got lucky.
No.
You guys got lucky.
Syracuse played their asses off in the first half.
You guys shouldn't have even beaten Hollis Price in Oklahoma that year.
What do you mean shouldn't have? How do you argue with the scoreboard?
I argue with you guys
that,
got lucky.
I need
Glasses got lucky.
I need that soundbite on my little board here. Scoreboard.
What about the scoreboard when you couldn't win with Derek Coleman and Sherman Douglas?
Hey, Syracuse is notorious for a history of choking. That's why I have no love lost for Kansas.
Are you with Boeheim? What direction do you think they should go after Boeheim in 3 years or whenever he retires?
I don't. I'm ticked that they
Bernie
gave him.
Fine.
No, I think Hopkins will be a good coach. I think he's been there long enough to kind of learn the ins and outs on how to handle a program. Boeheim had his little presser yesterday where he basically said, "Hey, it's not my fault. I'm responsible, but it's not my fault. It's time to go, Jim. It really is. Whether you did anything wrong, whether you're not, everyone's just tired of the act. I can't believe Syracuse gave him 3 years. You know what I mean? It's like, well, let's come to a place where we just realize that it's over and you've won a championship. Yeah, you had to vacate 100-something wins, but you're not going to get that back in 3 years. So let's just call it a career."
Okay, so he's back at like 848 or something for wins now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 868 or something like that. Okay, I kind of hope he gets back to 900 so that you can have a second celebration of 900 victories for Jim Boeheim.
Oh, this region would explode. Western New York would just explode if he somehow got back to that. But he'd need 4 or 5 years to do it, especially losing these couple scholarships that they're going to have to suffer through for the next 3 years.
Well, do you think they have a second celebration if he gets back to 900?
Not nearly quite as big. The fans will go nuts, but I think Syracuse just would be like, yeah, great, Jim.
Are Syracuse fans tired of Jim Boeheim?
Not as much as the media is around here. I've seen a lot of curmudgeonly sports reporters all of a sudden that are just kind of relishing in this slap job on Boeheim. But the fans are kind of like, Jim Boeheim's been there a long time. He's built the program from the ground up, through all the Big East tournaments and brought a national championship to Syracuse. I mean, not for nothing. But if you listen to Boeheim's press conference and you listen to his side of the story, you kind of see where maybe this whole punishment thing from the NCAA is a little heavy-handed, but at the same time, I don't know. If you get caught, whether you knew about it or not, whether you did everything you're supposed to do, you're still the guy on the hook for it. And if it happened under your watch, it happened under your watch.
Who do you think the biggest, what college basketball program do you think's been the most affected by conference realignment negatively?
Which basketball program?
Yeah.
Negatively. Anybody left in the old Big East. Not to sound like a homer and only talk about Big East basketball, but a team like Georgetown.
Yeah.
Villanova. They don't. They got a number 1 seed, but who are they playing now? That conference ain't the same.
They got Creighton.
No, Creighton was a nice ad. Creighton's always had a good program.
Got Creighton. Butler's coming along. Xavier, I always felt like they should have been in the realignment. Instead of DePaul, they should have been in the realignment originally out of the A-10 instead of DePaul when they added Marquette, Louisville, and all of them.
Oh, I would agree with you there.
I mean, they had David West at one. I mean, that would have been a great ad when they made that addition. The Big East at the end, I mean, it was still fun in the conference tournament, but having like South Florida there, and it just wasn't the same at the end.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Well, last thing before we get off air here, do you want to tell everybody where we can find you on Twitter, Keith?
I've been a target on Twitter for the first time.
Yeah, I saw that.
Dear God.
Rainan's been going off the deep end.
Don't even say his name. Yeah, it's fun. I feel like I've arrived. I have a hater. I have my first official hater. But you can follow me. My blog is at 87sportsfans.com. might be kind of time for a little retool there on that site. But and also my personal Twitter handle is at Keith Grieve, KeithGrieve, like to be sad.
All righty, Keith. Well, I thank you for producing and filling in, playing filler man. And we'll see you again next Sunday here on LateNightSportsRadio.com.